you very much, Jacques, and we really appreciate you always being there in the background, helping us out. So this morning, what we are looking at specifically is how to wear a safety harness. Why is that so important? And when are the times when we as plumbers out there in the industry are going to require the use of a harness? Just as a reminder, we want to just take this opportunity to let you know about the annual plumbing industry survey. Please don't forget to take it, earn a CPD point. When you have submitted this, you can follow the www.iopsa.org website and go and take the survey there. We thank you for all of you who have already done so, as well as for all of you who have tuned in this morning for the live Tuesday morning Toolbox Talk. So let's get straight into it about how to effectively use a safety harness. Now, some of the questions that came up from you out there in the industry, just two questions basically over the past few months, was when should you be wearing a harness and what is the right harness that you should be using? We did have a few questions on how to inspect the harness, but that will also be covered in this Toolbox Talk as well. But the two main questions that came through was, when should you as a plumber really be wearing a harness on site? Well, for one, as soon as you are working on scaffolding, you are required to wear a harness according to your client. Now, why do some clients require you to have a harness while others do not? So that is a very interesting question. So what we've decided to do was go for the principle of fall protection. Now, fall protection comes from the construction regulations, in particular, Section 10 of the construction regulations, where it governs the use of fall protection and how we should be using fall protection. But it doesn't specifically say how to use it on a scaffolding. For that, we need to go to our SANS standard. If you'd like to know what SANS standard that is the 10085 standard for SANS, and that is how to dismantle and use and access scaffolding. And that will also explain a little bit about fall protection, but in particular, it tells you to have a safe working platform. Now, why do some clients require you to wear a harness while others do not? Well, this is where it comes down to. The actual scaffolding itself, once it is built according to your SANS 10085 standard, becomes a safe working platform with guardrails right around you. So if you are standing in that platform, there is no way you can really fall out. The fall protection is already in place by using fall prevention methods, not fall arrest methods. Now, the difference is a fall prevention system prevents a person from falling, and a fall arrest system, such as the harness that you're seeing here on the screen, only works after someone has actually fallen. But in some instances, the requirement is for you to have a harness on because you are leaning over the scaffold in order to perform works outside of the scaffolding area. This is the reason why some clients require you to wear a full body harness attached to a double leg lanyard and then connected to the actual scaffold, or a separate anchor point on a building or a structure wherever you are moving your scaffolding around to. So that is the reason, and it's all based on, again, and we say this very often, the risk assessment. It is based on the task that you are performing, what the environmental conditions are, what the site conditions are, what type of work you're going to be doing while standing on the scaffold, and the need for either additional fall prevention and fall arrest systems, or the lack of that, where in some cases you might work on site and you do not need to have a safety harness while working on a scaffold. So please don't think that some clients are just changing their mind or they are playing hardball with you. It really is really a requirement of the risk assessment to identify what the possibility or probability, the likelihood, which is in essence what risk is, of you falling from that scaffold. And if the probability is even to a point of medium or high, then we are going to advise additional methods, and that would be having a harness on. Now, obviously, when working in a cherry picker, well, that's a no-brainer. Because the cherry picker is moving, you have to have a harness connected 100% of the time to that cherry picker. So in this instance, a client can never allow you not to wear a full body harness inside a man cage, a cherry picker, or a scissors lift, or any mobile elevated working platform. And that is because it is in the name mobile, it is moving, and thus the chances of falling out are a lot higher than a stabilized or stationary things such as a scaffold. When working on a ladder to reach a level of work. Now, there are times where you might use a ladder and you do not need a full body harness. For some, you might be changing a light bulb in the center of a room. There is no place for you to hook a harness onto. So you will climb the ladder, ensuring your 3 points of contact. You're not going to go above 2 meters high because it's just a normal A-frame ladder. And there's not a very high probability of you falling should you set up the ladder correctly and use it correctly. But there are instances where the ladder is set up in order for you to reach a platform where you will then start working from. Well, then it is a requirement for you to now start hooking on while climbing the ladder until you reach a safe platform. Oftentimes, we might reach a platform that is deemed safe only if fall protection methods are continually used. And in this instance, it would be climbing the ladder to access a roof or perhaps a structure that is above or off the ground. And then there are additional methods of anchorage, such as a lifeline that you would need to connect from the ladder, which is your access point, onto the actual anchor point or lifeline once you have reached the platform. Now, one of the most important things to remember is that when you're working at heights, you need to have 100% hookup at all times. That is why the question, what type of harness is right for you? Well, if you look in the picture, it doesn't have to be the most expensive one, but it must be a full body harness. A full body harness is shoulder straps, a chest strap, and leg straps, and it must be used in conjunction with the right type of lanyard. And the suggestion is always to have a double leg lanyard. Now, double leg lanyard is used from moving from one point to the next. So oftentimes you have lifelines connected to your harness. In that case, the lifeline is stationary and permanent. So they will have single leg lifelines, but that is permanently connected. So you're not moving from one place to the next, having to hook from one egg to hook to another point. Now, if you are hooking from a scaffold to a platform, from a platform to an access ladder, or from a lifeline to an anchorage point, you will no doubt see the wisdom in having 2 points of contact or 2 hooks so that you can unhook the one and remain connected with the other and move that hook over to your secondary position. You can then go back and fetch the second hook while still remaining connected to the new place of anchorage. And that is what we are meaning by 100% hookup at heights. So the right type of harness is one that covers your entire body and is used in conjunction with a double leg lanyard specifically for our industry that we are working in. It should also be tight fitting, so it should hold your entire body, which means we should never ever use a safety belt. Remember, it is your responsibility to inspect and check your harnesses to keep it in a safe condition, because it is your life that you are putting into this belt. Now, what are the steps to follow to don or to put on a harness safely? Well, there are 5 steps that we're going to chat to you about this morning. Step number 1 is obviously to inspect our harness. The very first thing we do before even putting on our safety harness is to inspect it. Now, a question that arose not as much as the 2 questions that we've had before is how often must you inspect a full body harness with your lanyard or any fall protection equipment? Well, we do not say daily. And the reason why we do not say daily is purely because daily means you could inspect it in the morning, in the afternoon, or in the evening. Well, this is not correct. We have a prior to use or a before use inspection. So a pre-use inspection, in other words, before you put it on, you need to inspect it. If you take your harness off at any time, for lunchtime, for a break time, or because you need to go and do some other work, and you come back later in the afternoon and you put your harness back on, well, you need to inspect it again. This is because a pre-use inspection means before you use it at any time, even if you're using it 5 times in the day, you've taken it off and put it back on again, you need to re-inspect it. The reason for that is anything could have happened to that harness prior to you putting it on and after you taking it off the previous time. So please ensure that your harness is inspected before use. The second thing is to ensure that it has correct shoulder straps. Now, when we put the shoulder straps on, we need to check that the D-link or the D-ring is between the shoulders in the middle of the back. And you'll see there in the picture number 2, step number 2, as he's putting the shoulder straps on, the D-ring at the back, which is going to connect our lanyard to it, is between the shoulder straps in the middle of the back. That positioning is extremely important so that we do not pivot out of the actual harness. The third thing we want to take a look at is then the leg straps. This should be nice and snugly fit, as we will take a look in our next few slides as well. Making sure that the leg straps, this keeps the entire body inside. And we will also see the importance of making sure that these are very snugly fit or tightly fit so that we do not have a larger fall distance than necessary. Then the fourth step is to ensure that our chest strap is not only tight and secured in place, but also the correct position. Too high or too low is also dangerous. And then lastly, you want to make sure that the entire system, the entire full body harness is nice and tight. Not too tight, but also not loose. Either of these extremes can be seriously hazardous if we are to fall in an actual harness. Now, for one, we do not want you to fall. So we are hoping that when using a fall prevention or fall arrest system rather, such as a full body harness with lanyards, that you never experience a fall. But should this happen, we need to take these 5 steps very, very seriously. So again, step number 1, make sure you do a full proper inspection. And this is done visually with your eyes and physically using your hands. So running your hands and your fingers over the webbing, taking a look at each part and each connector and each stitching and fiber of the actual harness. Remember, a chain is only as strong as its weakest link. So you might think to yourself, this is going to take me way too long. Well, it might take a little bit of time to do a full inspection on a safety harness. But remember the reason why you are inspecting it. It is there to protect you should you fall. It's basically a life-saving device. If you would like a life-saving device, you obviously want it working at 100%. 99% might still be good enough for some, but it is not good enough for you. And you know that your life is worth 100%. So because you are the responsible person ensuring the inspection of your harness, please check that it is in 100% working condition. Things that you're going to look for are abrasions or tears, any wear or tear on the actual lanyard or even the safety harness as well. All the metal parts need to be checked for cracks or deformities, and then obviously the webbing and stitching around the entire harness and lanyard. When we take a look at our shoulder straps, the full body harness is designed to allow any person that has fallen in this harness to sit snugly into the harness. In other words, it should catch you or arrest you. That is why it's called fall arrest. It stops you from hitting the ground. But the strap should prevent the person from falling out of the harness. In other words, the leg straps, much like the shoulder straps, should be tightly fitted but comfortable at all times. And this prevents a person then from having the top part of their body fall forward and then out of their harness. So when we have our shoulder straps fitted, please ensure that the location of the D-ring is between the shoulder blades. Now, if you need a demonstration of this, you can go to Wikipedia. They've got a little cartoon on how to do this. You can also look for videos on how to don or how to put on a full body harness on YouTube as well. And there's quite a few videos out there that are pretty informative. But basically, you always want to ensure that it is set for you. Remember, it's PPE, personal protective equipment, which means it's designed for you. And when you've fitted this harness on and made it tight and fit snugly for you, if somebody else uses that harness, you are going to now change the size because obviously it's not going to fit each person the same. So please make sure your harness fits you and that you are the only person using that harness. It does fall under your personal protective equipment. When it comes to leg straps, much like the rest of the actual harness, we want to ensure that it is never too loose fitting or too tight. Remember, when we tighten any strap, particularly the leg straps, we want to use the rule of thumb that you will be able to fit a flat hand between the strap and your leg or any other part of your body, but not an entire fist. So it's like a pocket on a pair of jeans. Your pocket is not too tight for you, and it's not so loose that things fall out of it. So a pocket allows you to put your hand in nice and comfortably, but it takes a little bit more of difficulty to put an entire fist into your pocket. So that is because it's nice and snugly and tightly fitted against the jeans. Our safety harness should be exactly the same. We want it to fit comfortable, but not too tight so as to cut off blood circulation, and not too loose that it's not going to be effective when we fall in our harness. When we look at our chest straps, again, the positioning of the chest strap is also very, very important. To ensure that your entire full body harness is protecting your full body, we always want to ensure that the waist or chest strap is connected, and this ensures that the shoulder straps do not move out of position and cause you to fall out of the harness, as you see in the far left picture. The chest strap, if it is worn too high, could choke or injure your throat or jaw if you are in a fall, especially if your leg straps are too loose, because now you're falling past your harness. So you want to adjust it so that you are in a full position, as you see in the third picture, where you are tightly held in position and that it is not uncomfortable for the entire body. But obviously, being in this position, for those of you who have been on the course, know that this is also dangerous because we have other serious injuries that could occur to the body while we are in this position. So please, if you want some more information on that, we can definitely help you to understand what happens to you when you are in suspension and what happens to the body when it goes into a trauma, and how can you prevent this from happening. So adjust your harness to the proper fit, and if you can't, very simple, get a new one. It should fit snugly for you. The fifth one is to double check your entire harness, and this we encourage you to use the buddy system. We want to check for a tight fit, but we also want to check that the harness is not contorted or twisted. All the straps must obviously be nice and straight and fitted tightly to your body, but you might not be able to see behind you to see what the harness looks like. So ask somebody, a friend or a colleague, to assist you to double check that the harness is fitted correctly to your body. And in this way, you will make sure that these 5 steps not only keep you safe before a fall occurs, but at the same time, it will help you should the unfortunate event happen where you fall, but you are arrested in that harness and then you are saved from hitting the ground. So we hope this helps you to answer those 2 questions that came through from many of the plumbers out in the industry. We thank you very much for these questions. It really helps us to look at the Toolbox talks and make it more specific to what you are facing out there in the industry. And looking at the coming month of September, we are going to look at a few more questions that you've asked. And we know we're getting to some of you a little bit later than normal. So we do apologize for that. We do have a lot of topics coming out. But we want to say thank you very much for allowing us to take the time out to do the research on the questions that you have asked us. Now, do you need help? Well, remember last week we spoke about the responsibilities of an occupational health and safety representative. Now, there is a free course sponsored by IOPSA for all IOPSA members. So if you are an IOPSA member, you will get the Describe the Functions of a Workplace Health and Safety Representative course. This is an accredited course with a unit standard 259622. We are going to be out in KZN during this month and over to next month as well, running 2 courses down in KZN. And then we will be in Eastern Cape during October and November. Now, just as a side note and actually a request from us at OHSS as well as IOPSA, due to COVID-19, many places are not allowing us or not being open to us having classes of 10 people to do training. Now, we do have our own sanitizing equipment. We do come out and do full disinfection and sanitizing whenever we do a course on site, and we do adhere to strict COVID-19 protocols as directed by the Department of Labor and Department of Health. But we are looking for a venue for the KZN second course that we are going to be doing. We are looking for 2 days down in the KZN area. If you know of anyone that could sponsor a venue for us for the free training, we could maybe include the people that are assisting us with the actual venue, with training as well of their own staff, even though they are not IOPSA members, but just to say thank you from us for sponsoring a venue. We just need it for 10 people for 2 days. If this is a possibility, you know of someone, the whole premises will also be disinfected and it will receive a disinfection certificate, and we will ensure strict COVID-19 protocols are adhered to at all times. And this is really to bring this initiative to you out there in KZN, as well as those of you who are in Eastern Cape. So if you do know of anyone, please drop us a mail. You've got my email address, info@ohss.co.za or chris@ohss.co.za, as well as the safety@iopsa.org email address. Otherwise, drop us a text message or give us a call. We'd love to hear from you. Now, coming up for the month of September, we're taking a look at training and why training is so important. Again, we look at SHE-REP training, but what about other types of training? Are we only allowing our staff or employees to be trained by outside contractors? Well, they don't know your staff or yourselves like you do. So continual professional development, training that is done in-house and is continuous, is also a great source of preventative safety measures that can be held in any company. So look out for that course or that toolbox talk coming up next week. We then take a look at employers, construction regulations, as well as OHS regulations, Section 8. We're then going to be talking about victimization and why it's an issue. We then take a look at cement as a hazardous chemical substance, and then the do's and don'ts of personal protective equipment. So thank you very much for joining us this morning. We really look forward to seeing you all next week, and we hope to hear from you about any of the training that you are looking forward to doing in KZN or the Eastern Cape. And then don't forget to please take the annual plumbing industry survey at www.iopsa.org. Thank you very much, guys. And